Hey guys, what is up? Long time. It's been way too long. I've been busy, but I come bearing good news. So all these projects that I've been kind of having under wraps, well, a majority of the projects, I can actually talk about now. So before we get into this topic for this video, I want to cover a few of the things. So you guys remember months and months ago, I talked about how I was writing a book and I could not talk a lot about it. Well, now I can talk a lot more about it. It is called Draw and Paint Better with Krita. So I know there's a lot of fans of Krita out there for good reason. It's a free to use, free to download digital painting software. It works on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's open source. It's evolving and changing all the time. It has a great artist community. And I've been honored with being able to write a book, a tutorial book, nearly 500 pages. 500 pages, hundreds of images, 13 chapters. We're going to talk more in depth and do like more detailed interviews and walkthroughs and stuff like that of the book. But I just want to let you all know that the pre-order is available right now. It comes out at the end of next month, at the end of May. Or yeah, actually, by the time this goes up, it might be this month. But yeah, it's surreal. It's almost a year in the making. I've been working on it consistently for about 11 months. Big thanks to Packt Publishing for reaching out to me and us making this work. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, we're gonna go into a real deep dive of the book closer to launch, and I'll be doing a giveaway as well. Some giveaways. We'll be doing some ebook giveaways, some physical book giveaways with autographs, all that stuff. But more info on that soon. Another super exciting thing I want to touch on is, you guys remember how I said I was working on another tabletop role-playing game thing? Well, this is from Monty Cook Games. And if you've been on social media and you're a fan of tabletop role-playing games, you probably saw this announcement. It is huge. They got the rights to do a board game or a tabletop role-playing game based on Old Gods of Appalachia, the award-winning podcast. Incredible podcast, really spooky, really creepy, really kind of profound stuff. Really, really cool. And I am part of the art team on that. And the Kickstarter has been live. It will continue to be live for the next week, week and a half, 2 weeks-ish. The goal was $50,000. We, I think, are either at 2 million or just past 2 million. So it's like, oh, it's been fun. It's been amazing to be a part of that, and the huge team over at Monty Cook. They've been incredible, and stuff's moving fast. I'm going to have a link to that in the description as well. If you're into kind of spooky role-playing game stuff, it takes place in like 1930s, the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains. Very, very cool setting, very cool stuff. Can't give anything away, but if you're into that spooky adventure stuff and you want to do some really cool storytelling with your friends, pick it up. Go back it. Ensure you get yourself a first batch copy, a first print run copy. We'll be talking about that whenever it launches as well. So, tons of stuff, and there's even more stuff I can't talk about. That's the one thing about this industry. It's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of big projects that you can't talk about unless it's been fully announced and things like that. So just know in the coming months, we're gonna get more and more news, and it's a lot, man. It's great. I love it. I'm busy. That's why it took almost 2 months to put up a new YouTube video. But here we are. I missed you guys, so I wanted to come back and give you guys a shout. But this time, what brought me back? I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet about this topic, and I don't know, man. I have certain thoughts about it, and the thoughts kind of mesh a little with what people think, but also I'm kind of taking another stance on it. But anyways, what the topic is this time is artificial intelligence and art. So there's a lot of different versions of AI algorithmic image creation. Basically, where you can either feed this algorithm different images and then make kind of a composite image of it, or what we're seeing more and more now is that you're able to just type in something like, I would like a castle as painted by Thomas Kincaid, and the color's red, and it has a thunderstorm in the background, and there's a cat on a broom, whatever. And then you type that in and you give it a few hours, and it's going to pop out 50 images based on that prompt. And yeah, some of them are pretty good, man. I'm going to show one right up here. This is the one that got everybody talking about how, like, is artificial intelligence and this type of art creation going to take the jobs of professional illustrators or even hobbyists that want to get in the industry? What does that mean? Should we be freaking out? Are the robot overlords going to be taking over? I have some thoughts on that. So without further ado, let's talk about this. In fact, I'm actually going to show right now a few of the images that I'm going to be using. So for this painting, I used Disco Diffusion, which is one of these artificial intelligent kind of prompt machines. You put in a prompt and it spits out some images. This one spit out some images. I put that I wanted a science fiction / fantasy marketplace, like a place to where you go and you buy and sell goods, with the key color of yellow, because I don't work in yellow very much. And I wanted it in the style, I believe I said a mix of Greg Rutkowski and Tyler Jacobson. I believe those are the two artists that I put in there. And this is what it popped out, these images. And they're pretty attractive images already. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, I'm going to combine them all. I'm going to work with Photoshop and maybe go into some other art softwares, maybe Painter, ArtRage, Rebel. We'll figure it out whenever we get in it. I haven't recorded it yet, so we'll see what we work with. And we'll sharpen it up. We'll sharpen it up and we'll make it look presentable for the thumbnail for this episode. And maybe something that can go in the portfolio. So who knows? But let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. I come at it from a very different angle than a lot of other people. So I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. But without further ado, let's get to it. All right. So my sorry if you hear the little clicking, my dog's walking in the background. So this artificial intelligence stuff, there's so many of these out right now. And there's going to be more and more as AI gets better and more improved. This is going to be more of a standard that you see, more of a norm that you see. And I just want to talk a little bit about my background and why I say I'm not like more qualified or uniquely qualified or something, but like I come from a different background than a lot of other illustrators that are commenting on this. And not to say that they're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and they're wrong, or whatever. It's just I come from a data-driven background for technology. I was the head of technology support for a college. I've worked with different directories and some of this artificial intelligence stuff and data management and data mining and like all that type of stuff. And not to say it's the same, but it does come from a different background, or it comes from a similar background as far as data in versus data out. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit. And this is a big topic, and I can see why people got freaked out whenever they saw these images coming out that were pretty good of, image prompts. Somebody typed something in and, it popped out something that looked pretty good. And I say pretty good because it looks fine real quick. And then you start noticing things. The algorithm does some weird stuff. I know there's another version of this. It doesn't do with painting, but it like makes people. It's called like these people don't exist or something. If you type that in, if you type in artificial intelligence, these people do not exist, it's going to bring you to a website to where it basically takes facial recognition and like merges a person out of 30 other people. And it looks really convincing until you notice stuff around their head. So it's like they have 5,000 teeth or something. It's really bizarre. Like, I would say eat a decent lunch beforehand, because some of that stuff can look really weird and off-putting. But that's part of artificial intelligence, right? It's only going to give you what you give it. There's a saying, and it's not a nice saying, but it does make sense, and it's called garbage in versus garbage out. If you give bad data, you will get bad data in return. And that's where this starts getting iffy, because how are these images coming about? Really, what seems to be happening, and I don't want to throw shade, I don't want to make these allegations if they're not true, but okay, for this one, for instance, I put, hey, I'd like this painting in the style of Greg Rutkowski or the style of Tyler Jacobson. How does it know the difference between those artists? You know what I mean? Because there are fundamental differences between the way these two artists solve problems. They're both incredible, and they both are at the top of their game and some of the best digital and traditional illustrators in the world. But the only way the machine is going to know this is by having access to all of their images, including ones that are copywritten. You see what I'm getting at? So if you're feeding in images that have copyright, what does that mean for the algorithm? What does that mean for the AI? This is essentially breaking copyright rules, because no longer does, maybe some of these cards or book covers belong to the artist. They belong to Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro, or you know what I mean? Like, now they're owned. Whenever you sign a contract as an illustrator, you're giving the rights of your image and the use of that image up to this bigger company. So what does that mean? Like, how is this going to start panning out? I see a future to where, you know how if you're big into kind of the online entertainment stuff, like into Twitch and YouTube, you'll always hear something about the copyright strike bot, the thing that will always come out and copyright strike. And sometimes they're not real, sometimes they are real. Like, it's really hairy, it's really messy. And I see that type of thing happening with this AI art algorithm stuff. Now, if you feed it public domain stuff, maybe things that are part of, our collective Creative Commons or something for, if it's in the public domain or something like those type of photographs, that, whatever, that can be an instructional tool, that can be used for academics, that can be used for studying, that can be used for some things. But using copyrighted work, intellectual property, seems risky. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's going to lead to anything good. Do I think that this is going to replace illustrators? So let's just get this one out of the way. Do I think this is going to replace illustration as a field? Do I think this is going to really put a hamper on how much money can be made as an illustrator? My answer is no. I don't think it's going to have a big effect. I could be wrong. Let's hope not. But here's why. Once again, we're going to go back to the garbage in, garbage out. If something can make you 70 images, but none of them are quite right, you're going to end up hiring somebody that knows how to parse that information. It's just like data management. You can have numbers and spreadsheets and stuff all day, but if you don't have someone on your team that knows how to parse it into usable data, you have nonsense. You just have a flood of information and nothing to do with it. So what we're probably going to see, I say probably, I don't see this as a full replacement for illustrators. I see companies having, let's say, on-hand illustrators that can take churned out thumbnails, let's just call these thumbnails, and make something better out of them. Like, you could have an art director that types something into AI, be like, hey, I need this, a Victorian era, whatever, the main color is purple, this is the mood that we want. It's gonna spit out some images that have some, some colors and some brush strokes and stuff. And that's what you hand your illustrator and be like, can we have it feel like this? And in my opinion, that's a good thing, because that solves a lot of the problems anyway. So whenever I'm working with clients, my favorite part of it is figuring it out. It's working and sitting and being like, let's capture this mood. What story are we trying to tell? Let's nail this down. And then we go look at reference. So you can go look at a Thomas Kincaid. You can go look at a Paul Canavan. You can go look at these artists that are incredible at the top of their game. And you get what you need out of them. You're like, okay, I see what they did with this highlight. They did some color saturation here. They did some highlights over there. Let me jot that down. Let me get this on a reference board. That way, whenever I get to that part on my idea, I can see how the other professionals have handled this problem and solve it to the best of my ability. That's what getting reference is. It's not copying something. It's not, it's not doing, you can do that. You can do master studies and all that, but that's a different topic. This is just getting reference, and using this AI art as a reference seems like a dream come true in a lot of ways. It's amazing. It's kind of what we're doing here with this painting. You kind of get 4 or 5 of the outputs. They're kind of messy. It's kind of weird, but you can start seeing something. You start mashing them together. Then you go in and refine it to make it tell the story that you want to tell. I can see that happening for sure. That's almost inevitable. Even if the art directors or the clients don't know about it, I see a lot of illustrators doing this anyway. They get this stuff, they get the colors in there, they use it as their palette. They get some of the shapes there, they get maybe the angles and the mood and like the ambience, and get the mixer brush and take some stamps and and just make it work. So that's already happening. But is that replacing illustration? No, I don't think so. However, I will say this is a twofold thing. This is going to save a lot of headache from companies that didn't value artists in the first place. Does that make sense? So if a company would rather use the machine and kick out generic images in the style of so-and-so, and that's good enough, fine. You probably did not want that person as a client anyway, because they don't value what you bring to the table as a creative person, as a painter, as a problem solver, as a part of the team. They just want an image. That's all they want. So if all they want's an image, fine, please, I'll show you every AI thing in the world. Just leave me alone. You know what? I got work to do. Like I actually have to do the job. I have to make this happen. But if you're just looking for a pretty image, this can make you an image and you're done. Fine. However, if you think that you're a children's book author and I'm going to use this AI just to crank out all the images from a children's book, you got another thing coming, my friend. Because let's say you get one great image. One great image. Oh man, this is exactly what I wanted. It's a bear, and the bear's wearing a t-shirt, and the t-shirt says peace on it. And then the bear is holding up a bicycle because he just bought the bicycle and he's so happy with it. And that's the point of my book, and he's so happy with the bicycle. Okay, you got the one good image of the bear with the shirt with the bicycle. Now, make 30 other ones that are that same bear with that same shirt, with that same bicycle, with the same colors, and the same perspective, and the same storytelling at the same quality. We will be waiting for 50 years for that algorithm to, poop out another one of those that looks as good at that quality of that character in that way. It's just not going to happen. You could play the lottery to get rich, but I don't recommend it. You know what I'm saying? That's way too big of a chance. You're taking way too big of a risk. You're wasting time. Don't rely on the algorithm to solve all the problems. It's not going to happen. It's just not. Now, let's say you had that one good image, and you're like, oh, this is exactly kind of the look that I want. Then you shop around for an illustrator. Hey, I got this character. Here's an image. I'd like it to look like this. Here's the bicycle. But I need some other images like this. Is this something you're comfortable doing? And do you feel like, you could do this? Now you're going to get some bites. That's some good bait for the hook. To get an illustrator and you already have some problems already solved and you just need somebody to come in, do the work, solve the problems and make it happen. Absolutely. Now we're talking. You know what I mean? On the illustrator side, now you got some competition. I'm gonna put it this way. I'm going to ask a question And it might sting, but if it stings, just know you got some introspection to do, okay? If I am a person wanting art, and I can use the algorithm, and the images that it makes is better than what you can make, and it's not a diva. So as an illustrator, if you're hard to work with, if you are kind of too big for your own britches, as they say, you're cocky, you're egotistical, you're late on your deadlines, you don't know how to work with a team, you don't know where you fit in the spectrum of kind of the work crew, why wouldn't they go with the algorithm that's easier to work with and doesn't sass? And do you know what I mean? You're not bringing anything to the table, so of course they're going to work with the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't talk back. It's not rude. It's not late. You know what I mean? You really start having to dig deep. What else besides a pretty picture do you bring to the table? That's where I think a lot of illustrators are getting nervous. So how good are your soft skills? How good can you work in a team environment? How well can you hit deadlines? Even if, trust me guys, and I can say this literally being a 2-year, I'm going to say veteran, 2 years as baby steps, but being a pro for a while now, you don't have to be the best artist. You know you don't. You do not have to be the best painter. You have to be the least risky. You have to be the least risky option, and you will continue getting work. You need to be able to work with a team, talk to the art director, figure it out. I can't tell you how many times I've had to scrap ideas. We've been very deep into creating a thing. This, in fact, just happened about a week and a half ago. Spending 40, 50 hours on a thing, and then a client comes back and says, actually, we really like how this looks. It's not fitting what our thing is. Can we restart from the beginning? And you know what your answer is? Absolutely. Scrap it. What are we working with? Because here's the thing. You need to be able to make good art that gets denied, so you know what not to do. So you know what isn't the fit for solving the problem. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you have to really dig in deep. You have to get really far into a project and realize it doesn't work. You have to be okay with blowing it up from orbit. From being like, all right, this one didn't work. Okay, well now we know. Now we know this is not the way we want to go. This is the way we want to go. Let's reconfigure. Let's pick up our ego. Let's, pick up the shattered pieces of our life and move forward and solve this problem and get it going. That's going to get you hired. And that is something the AI cannot do. Maybe you can put in a different prompt, but you might get wildly different results, and not in the good way. So there's a lot of minutia and a lot of inner workings that a professional illustrator and image maker and graphic designer and what have you, a visual artist, is going to give you that an algorithm simply won't. But as that artist, you have to have the responsibility of being a good communicator. You have to be able to be willing to scrap an idea. Even if you love it, if the client hates it, guess what? The client wins. They have hired you to solve their problem, not the other way around. So work with them. And get practice doing that. Get practice. Make art, make small commissions. That's where commissions actually come in pretty handy. Yeah, they can be tiresome. Yeah, they can be dramatic. Yeah, thankfully my days of $10 and $20 commissions are out the window because I just don't have time. I can't go back and forth and ping pong back and forth, with an image that, frankly isn't worth the monetary gain that, I have enough practice now. I'm practicing on Warhammer. I'm practicing on Old Gods of Appalachia. I'm practicing on other stuff I can't talk about yet. That's my practice, but starting off with the commissions, that's a good way to do it because you're going to work with a lot of different types of people. You're going to work with a lot of clients that are really easy and a blessing to work with. And you're going to want to jot their name down so you can work with them in the future. However, you're going to work with some divas, man. You're going to work with some tyrants, and they're going to be, they're going to be really about it for that $5 they sent you. They're going to be really tough to work with, but you got to learn how to tread that water. I always recommend people work a customer service job. I did it for over a decade. I was a inventory controller and, line manager and, loss prevention person and inventory control and, like a customer service representative. I've done corporate sales. I've done a bunch of stuff, man. But that's where you hone your chops. That's where you realize, even if you're having a bad day, how can you put the smile on? How can you work through it? How can you make this happen? That's the job. That's the work. Making images is my favorite part because that's paradise. That's a fun part. I love it whenever the client's happy and you're making some cool stuff, and then it gets published and it's all around the world, and oh my God, there's nothing better. But the days where it's work, the days where you sit down, you don't feel like painting, but you better be painting for 5 to 10 hours that day anyway. That's the job. And the sooner you realize that is the job, the happier and the healthier your career is going to be. It is work. It's a dream come true. Don't get me wrong. This is what I'm going to do till the day I die. This is my lot in life now. I've done everything else. I've tried other stuff. It wasn't quite the right fit. This is the right fit. But I needed that customer service stuff. I needed talking with people, that communication side, solving problems at a very high level to get to where I'm comfortable enough to be able to do the Zoom meeting, to do the quick phone call, to do the Google chat, to do what I need to do. Being told hard things, go in and fix it. We're going to make it work. That's what you need to bring to the table. Don't be scared of the AI stuff. AI is not going to be able to do that, not for a long time, especially not at production level. Oh my gosh, no way. And hey, it's going to get the bad clients out of your hair. If they didn't value an artist anyway, and they can get an image for, they can get 50 pretty images out of an hour of work and not have to hire an artist, God bless. You didn't want them as a client anyway. So now I'm at the point where I'm kind of repeating myself, but just know, you bring more to the table than just a pretty image. But if you don't, now's the time to start working on that other stuff, okay? The business acumen side of yourself has to be trained just as well as the artist side. You need to be able to talk shop. You need to be able to sit in those meetings, hold your own, figure things out. This is, trust me, the tabletop role-playing game community, the card game community, the fantasy and sci-fi illustration community is way smaller than you think it is. So if you work well with others, that will go out into the ether and you will get a good reputation, which is a great thing to have. But then it's on you, once you get hired by that client, you got to deliver. So constantly be practicing, constantly be working, getting better, improving yourself in more ways than one. Be ready for the prize fight. I tell all my students, I tell all my Discord people, all my patrons, all that. Train like you're getting ready for a prize fight. Train like you're about to get the cover of Time magazine. Train like you're about to be on Spectrum, that you're going to be in Imagine FX, that you're going to be on Warhammer, that you're going to be part of a $2 million Kickstarter. You got to practice like that's going to happen tomorrow. And are you ready for that? Are you ready? Really ask yourself. If not, what do you got to do? And then start doing it. But anyways, that's my time. What are your thoughts on artificial intelligence art? Do you think it's the doom and gloom of society? Do you think it's going to replace all of us? All the machines are going to be making that artwork better than our artwork. We're going to be weeping, begging on the streets. I mean, there are things about it that are kind of worrisome. I mean, to be fair, but don't worry about it, guys. Just keep doing what you do. Keep creating what you create. It's in your voice. No robot's going to have your voice. So go make your art. Go make cool art. And we will talk to you next time. See you around.